All right, there we go. We have the first bans coming into that, and we will see actually Snow Avalanche going into the ban here and the draft mode with the Catherine ban, which is super important. We have heard Rome talking about that Catherine. On the other hand side, we do see an Adagio ban. So Adagio banned frequently also yesterday. What does that mean here coming into this draft within Catherine and Adagio ban?
Like with the Adagio ban, it's how you look at him in terms of like a flex pick. And we do know like a lot of these teams, especially over in the EU server, they like to run double roamers and making sure that they're banking everything that they can onto that hyper carry. And with these two roaming bans coming in, I do think that as long as the side of RebelTiger is able to secure Arden, if the Snow team doesn't, that they do have an advantage.
Hmm. So coming into that draft, Snow Avalanche, they are going actually for that Sky pick. And my question, Action Jackson Sky, super strong, Crystal, mostly well in the jungle, but often also in lane. Is that a good start for Snow Avalanche? Can we call it like that? But the question is, it leaves Blackfeather, Kestrel, all that kind of stuff open now for RebelTiger. So what do you think about that opener here with the Sky?
I think it's actually a pretty good one. It's been a highly contested pick throughout the history of the tournament so far. And the people who have made it really work have really, really made it work. I mean, Leon, I know he's not in this series. That actually makes his performance even more impressive. If you head over to Vainglory and look at the top 10 kills for the European VGL, he's still number one, even though he hasn't played in the last round of games.
Yep.
A large part of that is based off of his earlier Sky performance. Similarly, PT Lamb, who's currently second on the top 10 kills list, also has played Sky numerous times to great effect. And it's worth noting that he is actually on Snow Tsunami. So maybe this is something that Snow has been sharing amongst themselves and looking into. I think Sky makes a lot of sense here. I think picking it up early makes a lot of sense. And I'm excited to see if they can make it work with the same level of success that we've seen previously.
Alright, and that being said, I was mentioning leaving that Black Feather open, and there we go. RebelTiger going instantly for that Black Feather, and together with Finn. So that is just super interesting. Vedius, you are a huge fan of Finn, Team Secret, the big hooks actually. Do you think RebelTiger has the same idea here?
Yeah, I think the pick potential that Finn provides can be very valuable. And if anybody is slightly out of position, if you just really want to focus down a single target, then Finn can offer so much of that. Followed it up by an overdriven quit ball means that he provides so much crowd control. I think it's a fantastic pick, and I'm looking forward to seeing how well other teams make it work, especially seeing as I do believe that it will be it's going to be Bash on that Finn pick. So seeing how he makes it work up against Moles, who's a bit of a Finn expert, I think we could argue, will be an interesting matchup to see.
Yeah, so we slightly apologize here for the mispick on the screen. It is Arden and Vox going here for the opener of RebelTiger. So on the other side, it is Blackfeather and Finn for Snow Avalanche. And then we can talk and continue to talk a little bit about that comp Sky, Finn, and Blackfeather. So my question to Rome, that comp, I know we have seen Team Secret synergy with, Finn, Adagio, and So, which is just insane. But can this comp work as well? That good?
Definitely. With them being able to secure down a Sky, a Black Feather, and a Finn, it will all depend on how well this Sky is able to make that early game pressure. As long as they get to that late game, this is where the combo of Black Feather and Finn come into play, and this is where he's almost unbeatable. With the other team being able to pick up that box, we can be sure that his positioning is always going to be on point. As long as he's standing in the back, making sure that he doesn't take all the aggression and get bursted down, I think he should be, as long as he's able to get those items, he should be able to take out the enemy team.
All right, last but not least, RebelTiger, they're going for the Castrol pick. Action Jackson Castrol, most likely seen in the jungle. Weapon damage facing here, we don't know yet. Sky Blackfeather together with Finn. What do you think about that? Is it, can Castrol show the full potential here, especially early game?
I certainly think so. I think it sort of patches up a little bit of a rough spot that you might have with the Blackfeather. Due to the fact that he takes a while to really come into his own, whereas Castrol in the early game, those glimmer shots, not glitter shots, are very potent, and that can help you out getting through that stage of the game. And then on top of that, I think the fact that it's with the Finn is interesting. There's a lot of damage in that composition, and there's a lot of threat there. You have to worry about the Kestrel and the Blackfeather, and I can't think of a better person to complement those two than a Finn to just get in the way of you killing the targets that you want. So I think the Kestrel makes sense in the lineup. It offers a lot there. And the only thing that I'm slightly concerned about is that sort of historically, we've seen maybe a bit of underperformance on Kestrel so far, at least in the last few rounds of the tournament.
All right, that being said, we will jump on the fold in just a second.
All right, well, we are going to be getting on to the fold, guys. Very excited for this third, fourth place match. My name's Action Jackson, and I got Vedius with me. Vedius, this is the first game of the final night for this qualifier. It's been a long road to this point. We've seen a lot from these teams. How are you feeling moving into this final game?
Well, I'm excited to see how things play out, because Snow Avalanche and RebelTigers yesterday, in both of their game ones, looked very, very confident. They were playing their compositions perfectly, their execution was on point, their teamwork was phenomenal, and the question is which team is really going to show up today, because in the second game, things fell apart for both of these teams in their semi-final matches. So hopefully they've collected themselves, hopefully they've realized the issues that they dealt with yesterday, and now coming into this third place match, they can secure themselves that third place spot and guarantee a spot in the live championships later on in March.
That is the prize that everyone has their eye on, that is for sure. I can't wait for the next live championships. The last ones that you and I attended were in Santa Ana, and it was a great deal of fun. Right now, though, Lore, he is dreaming about those finals as well, getting overextended in lane, and is going to go down. Avalanche finding themselves the first blood in the third, fourth place match.
So Lore's over-aggression got punished there quite heavily by Snow Avalanche. Notice how Lore just overextended a little bit too much to land those glimmer shots, and that put him in a position to set up for Bash and Araxi to collapse down and secure themselves that first blood. So great start for Snow Avalanche. The momentum right now going in their favor.
Absolutely, and look at this Polite Company dragging Lore in yet again in the jungle. You can see the pressure really coming out from Avalanche. HF Guy does need to be careful, but he's doing a decent job in a 1 versus 2 right now.
Certainly is, and something that I do want to quickly address is I talked about how Moles hasn't actually played Arden yet in this tournament, and now he's playing it. He was a big fan of the Finn and the Catherine, whereas Bash was the guy that was pretty much always running that Arden, and both of these roamers have now swapped, so it's nice to see that they still have that versatility available.
Araxi.
But Araxi, no, he's down some trouble.
Glimmer shots coming through. Lore gonna find himself that one. Very nice job by the side of RebelTigers to find some kind of a return for the aggression early on from Snow, but now we've got HF Guy rotating down. Active camo does not last very long yet, and the Ford Barrage finds the kill. Bash nearly going down here, doesn't get the shield off Polite Company. That could be bad for HF Guy as well. Ford Barrage, oh, he's not gonna find it before going down. Araxi just getting back from base in time to get the kill. It's 3 for 3 right now.
So much aggression in the early game from both these teams. You heard Rome talking about on the desk. These teams love to play aggressively during the early game, particularly this duo pair that we saw yesterday. Moles and Lore just love to work together as a team and roam up into the jungle. Obviously, yesterday we did have Green Hornet, but Lore still fills that same role that Green Hornet typically does. They love to play aggressively, they love to move up, and when you have that Kestrel, you want to take advantage of the strong early game that you have, but their over-aggression got punished a little bit too much by HF Guy having a nice rotation down into the jungle. So great stuff from both teams, equalizing the score 3 to 3.
Very nice work by both teams so far in the early game. Lots of aggression, which is what I love to see. I'm Action Jackson for a reason. But who's going to come out ahead in that aggression? I feel like the Finn and the Black Feather, you know, they should be taking a while to really ramp up. But at the moment, the fact that they've managed to stay even in these fights is actually quite impressive to me. Whoa, HF guy. Wow, getting melted there is exactly what I was talking about. The comp from Avalanche just struggling, or you would expect to struggle a little bit early on here.
Well, they just didn't really respect the damage from Arclos. Typically, a Sky would come out ahead in that 1 versus 1 scenario, but the fact that Moles was there to provide the support with the Vanguard, with the Blood for Blood, meant that Arclost had enough in his kit to take down that kill onto HF Guy, and that overextension seems to be quite common between the two teams. We talked about Arclost really being the carry for Rebel Tigers, but so far in this early game, he's having a great start.
He is, absolutely, and I'm curious to see if he can keep it up, though. We have seen good starts quickly and badly for several teams in the European side of the VGL, at the very least. Look at the continued aggression coming out of Tigers, too. They're actually starting off the gold mine right now, and I feel like, given the position of Avalanche, they don't have a chance to stop this.
No, they don't. The Rebel Tigers straight up had the better positioning right there, and you could even see Law move up aggressively to make sure that there was nobody from Snow Avalanche that would look to try and contest that gold miner. So that's going to be a great early objective picked up for them. Their goal now is to try and maintain that control, because when Araxi gets a couple of items, he's going to be a big threat as Snow Avalanche trying to make plays, but the vision control that has been coming out from Rebel Tigers in this early game has been pretty solid.
They've been doing a great job of getting these deep scout traps down in slightly unusual positions where you wouldn't think to go clear them out necessarily, and it's allowed for them to make a lot of these rotations that we've been talking about, these picks that they've been finding. I like that Bash has kind of changed focus to staying in lane and helping out HF Guy. Look at the damage as well. Quibble chunking out Arc Lost in space, but they can't quite get through Moles. Now with Lore coming up, Avalanche is going to have to be a bit more careful. Maybe back up. One shot, one kill, blocked by Bash. Wouldn't quite have landed onto Araxi anyway, though.
That was very smart from Moles to realize that the pressure was going to be onto Arclost, and this is what I was talking about when I said teams learning from their mistakes from yesterday, because so much pressure was put onto Arclost. It was gank after gank after gank, and now what Moles has decided to do is he's like, right, I'm going to cover them, and he's trying to cover Law right now.
Bash actually making an aggressive play, not realizing that Arc Lost in Space had come back so quickly. Does take a huge amount of damage. Araxi waiting in the wings as well, doing the sensible thing and not face-checking the bush. Everyone should take a leaf out of his book, absolutely. When you're playing in ranked, you do not want to be face-checking these bushes. Right now, though, with the rotation away from the lane from Rebel Tigers, HF Guy looking to set something up onto Lore, Bash leading the charge. But they're being very careful not to bite off more than they can chew.
No, they certainly are. They're playing very smart. Rebel Tigers realize that they're not quite at a point where they could win a straight-up 3 versus 3, because they realize that HF Guy is going to be doing quite a lot of damage. But Arclost has completed that alternating turret right now, and he's actually 20 CS ahead of HF Guy. So really having a great start to the lane, and HF Guy maybe not as strong in the lane compared to Araxi. Araxi was typically the guy that we saw yesterday going up in that lane, and he put a lot of pressure down onto his lane opponents. But right now, Arclost really seems to be the dominant carry out of the two laners, and this is what we were talking about. Rebel Tigers need to rely on Arclost and his mechanical prowess to bring them out ahead, and so far, this is going exactly the way that Rebel Tigers want their early game to go.
I have to say, it's an interesting decision, I think, from Avalanche to swap up, a decent formula. Obviously, they didn't manage to make it into the finals, and maybe that's the impetus for the change, but you've got to be careful about doing that. One of the reasons you frequently see players play one position all the time is so that they can master it, and I feel like HF Guy is lacking a little bit of the experience maybe that Araxi had. Rebel Tigers, though, they are doing a great job of applying pressure, and you can't discount that. Looking for kills as frequently as they can.
They certainly are. The rotations from both teams are pretty rapid, always roaming around the map looking for these plays, but a lot of time has been spent up in the lane. Both teams looking for those sort of engages to get them that little bit of an extra lead that will give them the momentum that they need to take control of the game. But have a look at the gold miner. It's about to be stacked out. It looks like RebelTigers realize this, and so they're posturing around it. They're getting some vision down. You can see that that minion candy is available for moles if Snow Avalanche decide to contest it, and the gauntlet gets thrown out.
It does get thrown out, and there's no reflex blocks on the important targets yet for Avalanche. That said, Death from Above doing a great job of zoning them out. For now, one shot, one kill lands onto the back line, but now Araxi's here. Bash, very low health, but Lore actually using his auto attacks there stopped him from reloading. Couldn't find that final glimmer shot onto Bash.
So this vision we were talking about from RebelTigers was so good because it spotted out Araxi not being with his team. So the gauntlet came out from Moles to capitalize on Bastion and HF Guy being in a 2 versus 1. The big thing that resulted in HF Guy escaping with his life was that phenomenal Death from Above that acted as a beautiful disengage for to allowing him to escape. They did end up losing the turret though, so I think RebelTigers are going to be pretty happy as Bastion looks for another fight.
Bash is trying to find something here. They know Gauntlet, for example, is not available from Moles, but the damage out of Lure is obscene right now. Finds himself the first kill, finds the second kill for Arc lost in space. And at the moment, RebelTigers snowballing through snow.
They certainly are. Lore demonstrating his prowess on this Kestrel with the early Sorrow Blade. It's very difficult for a Blackfeather to really win in a 1 versus 1 in that scenario. So a little bit of poor decision-making from Araxi. He shouldn't have tried to go for that 1v1, but Moles also with a fantastic Vanguard, providing that support for Lore to get that 1 versus 1 kill was fantastic. So RebelTigers coming out ahead in that exchange, gonna pick up some extra items, and right now they really do feel like they're in control of this early game.
They definitely are, sitting at over a 4,000 gold lead currently at 10 minutes. With the 3-kill edge as well. That's a very healthy lead for this early stage in the game. But one thing that I think is worth noting, and we joke about it frequently, about this sort of EU comeback syndrome. But something I've noticed, especially as we've got later into the tournament, is that these comebacks happen a lot more frequently when you have Finn on your team. Because later on in the game, when he has a super low cooldown on that Forced Accord, he can make so many plays.
He certainly can. That Force Accord is great for catching targets out, but it relies quite heavily on your vision control, and we have talked a fair amount about it with regards to RebelTigers, but not very much from Snow Avalanche because their scout traps just aren't there. They're not putting that much emphasis on trying to control their half of the jungle, and they haven't really been looking for any sort of aggressive plays. So this vision control is going to be very important if Snow Avalanche want to look to make a comeback.
That's the gauntlet. Bash immediately taking a lot of damage here. He's going to try and get away. Araxi running point at the moment. You don't really want your Blackfeather as the frontline Moles actually forced into the turret range by that Accord. The heal not there. 1 shot, 1 kill actually lands on the back line as well. And that's going to be 2 quick pickups for the side of Tigers. They're looking for the turret.
Great fight from RebelTigers, finding the targets that they need. Even though Bastion landed a beautiful Forced Accord onto the low health target of Moles, it did not matter because this time RebelTigers executed that fight perfectly. Lore and Arcloss playing around the front line of Moles just executed beautifully. I'm sort of lost for words for how well they're playing these fights because with the lead that they had, this isn't the same team that we saw from yesterday. Replacing Green Hornet for Lore seems to have changed the mentality of the team, and now they seem way more confident. They seem to be so much more aggressive, and the way that they make these plays is just so much more crisp and coordinated that RebelTigers seem like a completely different team to yesterday.
It really excites me seeing this kind of team play where you actually utilize your subs appropriately. The first time I think we've really seen it be very effective was actually in the final series of the NA Championship with Marto. We brought it up then, but since then we've seen more and more teams utilizing the subs, and it's like you say, Lore has really stepped up here and filled the shoes of Green Hornet in a big way. It's changed up the dynamic, and maybe, the effects of it are so widespread and so wide-ranging. For example, let's say Avalanche prepped thinking that Green Hornet would play. Well, they picked away the Blackfeather, but Lore might not play it. Maybe he's a Kestrel guy. These are all things that aren't very tangible, but definitely have an impact on the game.
I think it also relieves some of the pressure from Arclost, because yesterday we weren't talking about Green Hornet very much. It was all about Arclost and how well he can carry. But now with Lore on the lineup, he seems to be a secondary carry, a second threat that Rebel Tigers can rely on. And taking that pressure off of Arclost, I think that just makes his gameplay a little bit cleaner, a little bit safer. And given that he hasn't died yet this game, I think that the stats support that.
They absolutely do. Something that happened whilst you're doing that breakdown, Forced Accord got used on nothing. 57-second cooldown on that, even with the slight reduction you get. So not a great situation to be in for Snow. That's basically the only way they can be proactive right now, is if they land one of those engagements with the Forced Accord. That's just bought time for the Tigers to roam around the jungle, steal away all the camps, wait for this Kraken to spawn, and maybe take that to close out the game a bit later on.
So, coming into these later game fights, Arclost will be a larger threat than Kestrel will, because she's going to go for this weapon power build. It is going to fall off over time, and we are reaching the point where Blackfeather is now going to start becoming a massive threat. So, keep an eye on these fights for the Arclost versus Araxi matchup, because Araxi's going to be looking to get onto the backline. He wants to shut down that Vox as quickly as possible so that he can't get that fight, the damage down. Whereas what Bash is going to try and do is keep Lore preoccupied. As the hook comes out,
that Forced Accord way better than the last one, but look at Lore. He doesn't even need to be near you to do damage. That's one kill. Moles is in a tough spot, though, having to gauntlet out of the base. Ends up being a 1-for-1 trade so far. Hey, Jeff Guy, why are you going back in? Massive damage coming out of Lore. He's weapon power. It's the first portion of that shot that matters.
It certainly is, and HF Guy overextending a little bit too much to try and keep that turret alive, ends up sacrificing his life along with the turret anyway. But you have to give mad props to Bash. He did go for Arclost in space by throwing out that hook and dragging him in, but he dragged him in with moles. So thanks to the support that the Vanguard provided along with the Fountain of Renewal, they couldn't shut down Arclost fast enough. And the other key thing about that fight was that Lore wasn't preoccupied. So he was free to do so much damage from behind the wall. He was left to his own devices, and that resulted in Rebel Tigers coming out in a 2-for-1, as Araxi may be looking for another fight right now.
They are trying to get onto Lore, but Vanguard buys him some time. Forced Accord onto 3, but that just drags them right onto Araxi. The damage is huge out of Kestrel right now. Lore, one shot, one kill, finds the second one, and that's going to be an ace coming through for the Tigers. They've got Kraken on the board here. They have a lot of options.
This is the problem for Snow Avalanche. Right now, they're trying to shut down Arclost, but they're also not putting any emphasis at all onto Lore, so he's just free to get so much damage down with his positioning, and that is resulting in Rebel Tigers consistently coming out ahead in these engagements. They are executing these fights perfectly, but it's also a big misplay from Snow Avalanche, unable to get the proper target focus down, and you still just have to give credit to how well Lore is playing. This guy, he wasn't there yesterday in their semi-final match, but coming in today, he has shown the team, yes, I realize how important coming out ahead in this third place match is. Yes, I realize how much pressure there is on this match, but it doesn't matter. I'm going to use that pressure. It's going to fuel me, and I'm going to carry this game. And mad props to him for doing such a great job in this game so far.
I have to agree with you, and something that I want to mention is how radically different his Kestrel play has been to the Kestrel play of many people so far in the tournament. Moles does get forced in, but can just Vanguard out, actually speeding up Lore for some aggressive poke there. The Kraken is going to knock on the base of Avalanche right now, and it's a tough spot for them to be in. Can they defend this Death Ball coming in? Lots of damage coming out, death from above. Lore is on the backline, though, against Araxi. He's trying to find the kill, does actually get it, but meanwhile the Kraken is doing a lot of work. Arc lost in space, does find one more on the backside, trying to get Araxi now. No turret helping out this fight. He's on the wrong side of the Vein Crystal. That's a second kill. Bash goes down. The turret falls. Kraken is still very healthy. I don't see a way for Avalanche to come back in this game. They're going to have to do it in the rest of the series. First game going the way of Rebel Tigers.
Fantastic game from them. Really impressed with how well they've adapted since yesterday. A clean 18-minute victory going heavily in their favor, and I feel like I didn't see a moment of weakness in that entire game.